Child, listen carefully, because what started as harmless shade between Taraji and Nia Long has now spiraled into something far darker than anyone imagined. This is no longer a petty feud, it is a storm of betrayal, whispers, and pure Hollywood chaos. Now, for those who have not been keeping track, Taraji and Nia have had tension brewing for years, ever since their time together on Empire. Fans once celebrated seeing two powerhouse women of color share the same screen. But behind those glamorous smiles? There was silent warfare. And lately, the internet believes Taraji may have crossed a line that Nia will never forgive. Rumors have exploded across social media. Word is that Taraji might be seeing Ime Udoka. Yes, the very same man who had Nia Long trending for all the wrong reasons. Twitter is in flames, TikTok detectives are connecting dots, and fans are asking the same burning question: did Taraji just betray Nia Long in the most personal way possible? But how did this even begin? How did two respected actresses, once hailed as symbols of unity and strength, end up on opposite sides of one of Hollywood's messiest scandals? Let us rewind. When Nia joined Empire in Season 3 to play Juliana, Lucius Lyon's ex, the internet celebrated. People were ecstatic to see her alongside Taraji and Terrence Howard. It felt like television history in the making. But as soon as cameras stopped rolling, the energy shifted. Fans started noticing the tension. On set, whispers spread that something was off. Nia allegedly came in with a certain attitude, standoffish, demanding, and impossible to please. From her hair to her wardrobe, she reportedly challenged every decision until she got her way. Typical Hollywood behavior? Maybe. But insiders claimed it went beyond professionalism. It was competition. A power struggle. Not long after, Nia was suddenly gone from Empire. No Season 4, no farewell episode. Just, gone. And that disappearance set off alarms. Sources claimed she had tried to expand her role, to edge closer to Taraji's spotlight, even suggesting storylines that would pit her character directly against Cookie Lyon. But producers shut that down instantly. They knew that tampering with Cookie, a character beloved by millions, was a risk no one wanted to take. Behind closed doors, Taraji reportedly caught wind of Nia's plans, and she did not take it lightly. This was not just about ego, it was about respect. Taraji had poured her soul into Cookie Lyon, building her from the ground up into one of television's most iconic figures. To hear that someone, especially another black actress she once respected, might have been gunning for her position? That hit deep. Hollywood runs on silent hierarchies. It is not just about talent, it is about how you move when no one is watching. Taraji had earned her place through grit, emotion, and an undeniable connection with her audience. Nia, on the other hand, carried the legacy of a 90s darling, elegant, beautiful, timeless. When these two forces collided, it was never going to be pretty. Crew members whispered that Nia carried herself above others, not saying thank you, throwing sharp looks when makeup was not flawless, allegedly belittling the team. And Taraji? She was the opposite. Fierce but loyal. Protective of her people. So when she saw Nia crossing that line, she did not stay quiet. From that moment, the feud silently ignited. Fans could feel it. Every interview, every subtle post, every side eye on camera, it was tension disguised as professionalism. And now, fast forward to the present. The rumors of Taraji being involved with Ime Udoka have reopened every old wound. Social media is divided, half defending Taraji, saying love is love, the other half calling it the ultimate betrayal. After everything Nia went through, one tweet reads, "How could Taraji do her like that?" The truth? No one really knows. But one thing is certain, in Hollywood, alliances shift like shadows. What once looked like sisterhood can turn into rivalry overnight. And as fans continue to dig, it seems this storm between Taraji and Nia is far from over. Because when the cameras stop rolling, and the lights fade out, the real drama begins. It began small, the kind of subtle tension only insiders could sense. A strange pause during table reads, the occasional awkward glance across the room, little side comments that carried just a bit too much sting. But soon, the unease grew louder than any dialogue being read. The energy shifted whenever Taraji and Nia were in the same space. People started whispering. The air on set felt heavy, like two storms quietly circling each other, waiting to collide. By the middle of the season, it was impossible to ignore. Sources close to production claimed the situation got so uncomfortable that the director had to literally rearrange shooting schedules to keep them apart. Scenes meant to be filmed together were now split. Clever editing, camera tricks, and body doubles became the secret tools keeping Empire afloat. What the audience saw on screen, those seamless interactions, were illusions. Because in reality, Taraji and Nia were not even in the same building most days. That is how deep the divide ran. For Taraji, this was heartbreaking. She had poured years of her life into Empire, molded Cookie Lyon into an icon, and earned every ounce of the show's success. To see the harmony of that world crumble because of backstage drama? That cut deep. But here is where the story takes its darkest turn, when Taraji found out that Nia was allegedly doing more than just stirring tension. According to multiple insiders, Nia was quietly pushing producers for more. More lines. More scenes. More power. She wanted to expand her storyline, even proposing ideas that would shift the spotlight toward her character, at Cookie Lyon's expense. In other words, she wanted the throne. And if you know Taraji, you know she is not the type to let anyone steal her crown. Word is, when she heard about Nia's behind-the-scenes maneuvering, she felt blindsided, betrayed, even. Imagine dedicating your life to a role, only to find someone walking in mid-show trying to rewrite your legacy. For Taraji, it was more than professional, it was personal. But here is what separates Taraji from most people in Hollywood: she never needed to scream to be heard. When she decided to address the situation, there was no yelling, no public meltdown. Witnesses described it as calm but powerful. Taraji walked in, laid down the truth, and made it known: Cookie Lyon is not going anywhere. The message was crystal clear: she would defend her empire, no matter who tried to infiltrate it. From that moment on, the energy between them froze. Whatever semblance of friendship had existed was now gone, replaced by professionalism so cold it could freeze glass. Taraji arrived on time, delivered her lines flawlessly, and left. Nia did the same. The smiles for the cameras disappeared, replaced by polite nods and clipped hellos. Crew members noticed the shift immediately. Conversations became cautious. Assistants avoided saying one actress's name in front of the other. Makeup artists whispered in corners. It was like walking on a minefield: one wrong word could set off an explosion. Producers tried to cover it up, crafting a perfect illusion for the public. But fans? Fans are not blind. They noticed the missing chemistry. They noticed that Taraji and Nia were suddenly never in the same frame. And in the age of social media, that was all it took. Twitter threads blew up overnight. "Something is definitely off on Empire," one post read. TikTok edits began circulating, freeze-framing scenes, analyzing facial expressions, zooming in on subtle eye rolls. Theories spread like wildfire. Was there beef? A fallout? Betrayal? Before long, every gossip outlet had its headline: "Tension on Empire set, Taraji vs. Nia Long." And once the tabloids got involved, the story snowballed out of control. Claims of shouting matches, diva behavior, and walkouts flooded the internet. Some said Nia had threatened to quit unless her demands were met. Others claimed Taraji had refused to film until producers stepped in. Most of it was exaggerated, of course, but behind the noise, one thing was true: the peace on Empire had shattered, and everyone could feel it. Behind closed doors, producers held emergency meetings. Scripts were rewritten, schedules adjusted, interviews carefully managed. They were not just trying to save a show, they were trying to protect a brand. Publicly, everyone denied the feud. But the silence said more than any statement ever could. Nia, on her part, reportedly felt like an outsider. She believed the crew favored Taraji, that she was never truly accepted. And maybe she was right. Empire was Taraji's kingdom. Every cast member, every camera operator, every extra knew it. To walk onto that set and try to rewrite the hierarchy? That was a dangerous move. Still, from Nia's perspective, she was just fighting for her space, demanding the same respect she had earned throughout her career. But perception is everything in Hollywood. And to the rest of the crew, it looked like she was trying to dethrone the queen. Eventually, producers made the only decision they could: they cut her role short. Meetings were held in secret, statements were crafted carefully, and plans for her character's departure were put in motion. Officially, everything looked fine. Unofficially, it was the end of an era. By the time Nia left, the tension had done its damage. The atmosphere on set was colder, quieter. Interviews became rehearsed. Smiles turned mechanical. Yet through it all, Taraji remained unbothered. She never posted a shady caption, never threw a subliminal jab online. She let her silence speak volumes. Because queens do not argue with noise, they remind the world why the crown belongs to them. Let us not pretend Taraji was made of steel. Behind that flawless smile, behind the calm professionalism, there was pain. Sources close to her say this feud cut far deeper than the internet ever knew. Because for Taraji, this was not just another Hollywood rivalry. This was heartbreak disguised as tension. You see, she had admired Nia long before Empire ever existed. Taraji grew up watching her, studying her grace, her elegance, the way she carried herself through a world that rarely gave black actresses the space they deserved. Nia was someone she looked up to, a woman who had paved the road she was now walking. And to find herself standing on the opposite side of that same woman? It hurt in ways that no headline could describe. There was disappointment, the kind that lingers long after the cameras stop rolling. Taraji had been through the fire of Hollywood politics before. She knew how fake smiles could hide daggers, how allies could turn into competitors overnight. But this time, it was personal. This was not just about scripts or screen time, it was about trust, admiration, and what happens when those things crumble. Over time, the storm quieted, but the damage was done. Their relationship never truly recovered. The two women drifted apart, no shade, no public blow-up, just silence. Nia moved on to new roles, while Taraji kept building her empire, brick by brick, project by project. And yet, fans could never quite let it go. Whenever the topic came up in interviews or fan forums, people wondered, what if? What if these two icons had become friends instead of foes? What if their chemistry on screen had turned into a sisterhood off-screen? But that what if faded into a much darker reality. Because in Hollywood, pride is the quiet killer, and sometimes, it costs you more than fame ever gives back. Both women had left their mark, Taraji, as the heart of empire, and Nia, as the cautionary tale that ambition and ego can sometimes collide with devastating consequences. Still, beneath all the gossip, there was something bigger. This was not just a feud, it was a reflection of how brutal the entertainment world can be. In an industry built on lights, cameras, and illusion, collaboration is often sacrificed at the altar of competition. Maybe that was the real tragedy, that two brilliant black actresses who could have created something legendary together, instead became divided by misunderstanding, pride, and the unspoken pressure to always be the one. For years, they kept their distance. There were no joint appearances, no red carpet smiles, no photo ops pretending to be friends. Just silence. Until one rumor changed everything. Because just when everyone thought the Taraji-Nia story was over, Taraji allegedly got involved with Ime Udoka, Nia Long's ex-fiancé and the father of her child. That was the spark that turned quiet history into public chaos. Now, let us rewind again, because to understand the explosion, you need to understand the foundation. Nia and Ma had been together since 2010. They were that couple, elegant, private, admired. They walked red carpets hand in hand, smiled through interviews, and radiated that old-school Hollywood love that felt untouchable. In 2015, they got engaged, and the world celebrated. Fans called them Black Excellence. They had a beautiful son, and for years, it seemed like they were proof that love could survive the chaos of fame. But while the cameras showed perfection, the cracks were already forming behind the scenes. Ime Udoka's career was booming. He had transitioned from playing basketball to becoming one of the most respected coaches in the NBA. His name carried weight, and the pressure grew heavier with every victory. Meanwhile, Nia was doing what she had always done, balancing motherhood, a career, and the emotional labor of holding it all together. She supported him, defended him, celebrated him. She believed in their future. Until the scandal. In 2022, the story broke, and it shook the internet to its core. Ime Udoka had allegedly been involved with two women on the staff of the Boston Celtics. Both married. Both within his professional circle. It was more than a personal betrayal, it was a public implosion. Overnight, the NBA suspended him, the media dissected every detail, and Nia Long, a woman who had built a reputation on grace and strength, suddenly found her private heartbreak turned into viral content. Every headline became a wound. Every tweet, a reminder. She was not just dealing with infidelity, she was dealing with humiliation. The world watched her pain in real time. And in the cruel theater of social media, empathy was quickly replaced by speculation. According to insiders, Nia was blindsided. She had no idea what was happening until the news cycle broke it wide open. Imagine finding out about the collapse of your engagement not from your fiancé, but from the internet. She was angry, heartbroken, and embarrassed, all at once. Yet, even in that storm, Nia tried to keep her composure. For her son. For her dignity. And here is the most haunting part, despite everything, sources claimed she was willing to forgive him. She wanted to rebuild quietly, to protect her family. She still believed in love, even after love betrayed her. But the universe had other plans. Because just when Nia thought the worst was behind her, whispers began to spread. Whispers that Taraji, the woman she once clashed with on set, might now be involved with the same man who shattered her heart. That was when everything changed. The internet caught fire. Fans could not believe it. The comments section exploded. "This has to be a joke," one person wrote. "Taraji? With him? No way." Others were less forgiving. "If this is true, that is the ultimate betrayal." And suddenly, a feud that once lived in whispers had turned into a headline war. Because this was no longer about Hollywood politics. This was about love, betrayal, and the one line no woman ever once crossed. She never wanted to make a spectacle out of it. That is the thing people often forget about Nia Long. She has always been private. Reserved. Elegant in silence. Even when her world was falling apart, she refused to hand her pain over to the public for entertainment. While the tabloids feasted, Nia stayed composed, giving the world nothing more than a few brief statements about needing peace, space, and time to heal. Behind closed doors, she was quietly hoping for reconciliation, trying to process the betrayal, trying to make sense of what her life had become. But before she could even take a breath, the whispers began. Rumors surfaced that Ime Udoka, the man who had shattered her trust, was already seeing someone else. And not just anyone. The name circulating through the blogs made jaws drop. Taraji P. Henson. That was the moment everything collapsed. Taraji and Nia had never been close friends, but they were more than strangers. They were industry sisters, two powerful, trailblazing black actresses who had shared the same rooms, walked the same carpets, and survived the same Hollywood storms. There had always been murmurs of tension between them, but nothing dramatic. Nothing explosive. Until now. When Nia heard the rumors, it reportedly felt like a knife twisting deeper into an already open wound. This was not just about another woman, it was about that woman, someone from her world, someone who knew the weight of being dissected in public, someone who understood what it meant to be judged unfairly. For Taraji to step into that space, especially while Nia was still reeling from humiliation, made it feel like a betrayal that went beyond romance. It felt personal. Insiders claimed Nia confided to friends that Taraji was trying to get in the way of her family. Maybe that was just emotion talking, but in her eyes, the timing was cruel. Imagine the headline still fresh about your fiancé's affair, and suddenly, the woman once rumored to have clashed with you is allegedly the one standing beside him. Whether Taraji meant for it or not, it looked messy. And, of course, the internet lost its mind. Social media erupted into chaos. Twitter threads, TikTok theories, Instagram lives, everyone had an opinion. One side screamed, Taraji is out of line. You do not go near your peer's ex, especially after that kind of betrayal. Another side countered, Nia needs to move on. Ma ruined that relationship himself long before Taraji showed up. Within hours, it turned into yet another women versus women saga, two black queens being pitted against each other, not by choice, but by the ruthless machine of public perception. Nia's quiet nature only amplified the contrast. She stayed